In this video, I'm going to talk about how to make your immigrant parents proud and just sort of talk about my story, how everything went down, and just a little intro about myself. My name is Charlie. Currently 33 years old. My parents are both from China. They came to the US in their mid to late 20s for grad school. And yeah, I just wanted to sort of talk about my story, share how, my journey basically came to be. And I know many of you guys watching this video, maybe you have immigrant parents as well. Maybe you are in the same position that I was a few years ago or 5, 10 years ago. And you're looking to be able to relate to something, right? So I think, yeah, if you're watching this video and you have immigrant parents and they want you to go down a different career path, something that you don't want to do, it's a tough place to be because, of course, we want to make our parents proud. We want to, yeah, they came all the way here from a different country. They made a lot of sacrifices. Of course, we're going to want to make them happy, right? But it doesn't always work out like that. But I will say, you can absolutely make your parents proud doing the stuff that you want to do. It just takes a lot of time, and there's going to be a period of X years, different for everyone, where it's quite challenging. There might be some conflict, but there's an end at the there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I want you guys to know that it is there, and you can reach that light. I reached that light, and now my parents are proud, but there were definitely many years where it was very, very challenging. And so I can relate to you guys. It is a tough spot to be in, and yeah, hopefully this video helps you out. Give you guys some background about me, or my parents. So like I said, they came from China when they were in their 20s. Very smart students. The only reason they were able to come was because they were at the top of their class. They took education extremely seriously, very academic, and they both grew up extremely poor. We're talking like they shared one bedroom, right? Like a family. They couldn't eat meat because it was too expensive. Mostly eating rice, carbs. Yeah, there was nothing luxurious about how they grew up. They basically were in a third world country. I think it was considered a third world country at that time. And for them, the only thing that they could do was get a great education, do well in school, and sort of basically work their way out of their small cities and go to college, and then of course go to grad school. And the whole goal, right, was to go to the US because the US is where all the opportunities were. And so you have thousands of people from a small city all trying to go to college. And then I don't know the numbers, but you had to be really smart, or just at least do really well in school. And totally different topic, but this is super sad because there are a lot of people that aren't academically inclined or smart, but extremely smart with business and other stuff like that. So these people growing up at the time just dealt a really bad hand. And a lot of what otherwise would have been successful entrepreneurs probably did not succeed just because they were born in that position. Essentially, they came to the US. They brought with them a lot of great like work ethic, survival skills. They came with literally $0. From there on, they built a really successful life. They got really great jobs. My dad was a software engineer. My mom is still working right now. She is a statistician. And so we always did really well. They always did well with their jobs, with their income, but we definitely grew up with a lot of frugality in the household. And of course, they had pretty traditional expectations. No one in my family has been an entrepreneur. And it just makes a lot of sense that they really wanted me to become a doctor. yeah, any type of traditional career, doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever it was, these were the safe paths that you could guarantee yourself if you did well in school. And these are the paths that command a lot of respect in, I guess, Chinese culture, a lot of immigrant cultures. Because, of course, you need good academics, and immigrants, they really value education. It makes a lot of sense. They got here due to education. A lot of immigrant parents got here due to education. And so they want what's best for their kids. And even if it's not the best because they sort of force it on kids that may or may not want to do what they want us to do. I don't really know what I'm saying, but yeah, they essentially pushed this, safe traditional path onto me, and they didn't pressure me that much, right? But it was definitely expected. And at the time, I was not really good at saying no. I didn't really have a strong personality. Still don't really. But I figured, okay, they want me to do this. I'm good at science. I'm good at math. I'm just going to hopefully do well in school. And I'll say that I am pre-med, that I'm planning to become a doctor. Yeah, I wanted to make them proud, but also didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had grew up with no entrepreneurial mentors. I had really no idea what was possible in the whole world of business. So building a business, getting rich building businesses, it was not something that I thought was possible. It's not that I didn't think it was possible. It was just that it wasn't even in my mind because I had no exposure to it. So I only saw people with really great jobs doing really well because they did well in school and they went on to get a grad degree or PhD, master's, MD, JD, whatever it was. And so that was what success looked like to me. Yeah. And essentially there came a time after graduating college. Once I graduated college, this was in 2014. Yeah, I'm old now. And I didn't have a job lined up. So throughout college, I was, planning the whole pre-med thing. It was easy because whenever someone asked me what I want to do, I'd be like, oh, I'm pre-med. I'm going to go become a doctor. And they'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Secretly, I did not want to do that at all, right? I never want to become a doctor. I can't look at needles. I can't look at blood. I don't like hospitals. And yeah, it was just tough because I think secretly I knew that I was getting myself into this situation that was getting worse and worse because yeah, you can put it off, but there's going to be a time when you actually need to apply to med school and you actually need to go to med school and you actually need to become a doctor, right? So I kept pushing it off. After school, I tried to get my EMT license. I got my EMT license, tried to get a job as an EMT. There was a company that I applied to a job with. I forget it was PRN ambulance in, I think, North Hollywood or, and it was north of LA. And I remember going there, doing the orientation, applying for the job there. It paid $11 per hour and then 1.5x that for overtime, over 8 hours in a day. So like $17, right, per hour. And I ended up failing because I failed the last practical. This is like a full day test with them where you're with, I think, one or two other EMTs, and they're basically checking your every move, see how you actually are. And at the end, they pass you or they fail you. And I failed it because I was just not good at multitasking. And after that, I was like, I don't think this is for me. I'm just going to quit, right? At the time, I was doing a lot of graduation shoots. And I realized, why work for $11 per hour when I can do a photo shoot, make $100, $200, whatever it was at that time for an hour of work, it just didn't make any logical sense for me to keep doing it. And I think that was like my out. And I was just like, you know what? I already wasted this much time and money on this EMT thing. I'm just gonna get out and do my own thing, right? And I remember that whole thing, applying to med school, applied to 20 different schools. I've told the story a lot on my other channel. Didn't get in. Only got one interview from UCSD. And the day I got that last rejection email, I was like, okay, this whole chapter of my life, maybe it can be over, right? So I told my parents, and obviously as a parent, you want your kid to do well. And at this time, I wasn't really doing well. I wasn't building anything. None of my side hustles or businesses were successful. And I think they were just like, they're super bummed, right? I remember, I'll show this picture on the screen. This is us in, I think, Italy or France, somewhere like that, on a family trip to Europe back in, I believe, 2015. And that night we got into a fight. Things were said that I still think about. And yeah, the whole thing was like, it was a pretty bad conflict at a point. They saw me trying to do stuff, side hustles, whatever. They didn't really think that it would go anywhere, or they weren't seeing any success. So of course they were extremely worried. That night, my mom, we were walking in the garage, and we saw a car, and it was my dream car at the time, a Lexus IS 250 F Sport, about $40,000 new. And I was like, dude, oh, that is my dream car, red interior. And my mom was like, how are you gonna buy that? And I just remember feeling like, you know, I don't know how I'm gonna buy that. Like I can't buy that because I have no real income. Yeah, it was just not a good time. And the 5 years after that, it was a struggle, right? I think 2015 to 2019, 2020, it's about 4 or 5 years. It was a struggle to prove myself. I had a lot of failures. There was a lot of confusion about what I was doing. What parents didn't even really know what I was doing, right? I was starting all these different types of businesses like Amazon FBA, had my clothing brand. I think they were pretty excited about that, but of course that brand failed, lost a lot of money with it. And I was working really hard at things that did not guarantee any success, and they weren't seeing any success, right? So I was putting in a lot of work, but there were no results to show. And that was just tough, man. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll find themselves in that type of situation at some point. The beginning years of entrepreneurship, for most people, I'll say, it's like this. It is very tough. It seems like you're falling behind all your peers because they went out and got jobs, they're making stable money, they are out using their degrees, whatever it is. And yeah, you're playing catch up, right? You're building stuff that isn't cash flowing. You're trying things that are not working. You might be even making a fool out of yourself, right? I remember I always felt kind of lame that I was posting about my clothing brand. I was, sort of begging for sales, begging for marketing, for attention, for that type of stuff. And I just remember thinking like, man, I wonder if a lot of my friends, family friends, whatever, are being like, Charlie's building this thing. It's obviously not doing that well. And it bruised my ego. Like it didn't feel very good. During these 5 years, I, of course, had small wins, but these small wins, they didn't really understand them because I think for a lot of immigrant parents, it's only a win if you know it's going to be consistent for a long time. These small wins, like let's say getting a new tutoring student for me, or making a sale for my clothing company, or selling out of my new Amazon product, like they were small wins, but my parents didn't really understand them, and they weren't really counted as wins because who knows? It might have just been a fluke. I don't know if it's going to keep going on. They don't know. And so that doesn't count as a win for a lot of these immigrant parents. I think a lot of you guys watching this, it's going to be the same thing, right? You'll have a lot of small wins, but they're not going to really be recorded in the book of wins for your parents. And that definitely is sad, right? You might be chasing that approval from these small wins, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it until you see something that's really consistent. And it's sort of going to be like an aha moment for your parents where they're going to be like, whoa, Charlie, or whatever your name is, they spent so many years trying to build stuff and we're finally seeing the fruits of their labor. It's likely going to come all at once and you just need to be prepared for that. Yeah. The first shift I saw for me, the first, I guess, tinge of success they saw was when I started doing Amazon FBA. That one did actually okay, and I think they were like, okay, this could be okay, but still, like, what the hell are you doing? I then got my real estate license, got my mortgage license, sold some homes. I think they saw me like really hustling. I was building my social media at the time, and so they saw stuff, right? There were receipts that they could look at. Of course, my parents, especially my mom, would always send me job opportunities until not that long ago, actually. Well into like my successful years, they'd still send me things. And yeah, real estate, mortgages, all did okay. Social media started doing okay in 2019. At least a nice car in 2019. I think they were like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then 2020 is when I finally had this like consistent thing that I could show them that they were actually like, whoa, this is consistent and this is something that we see lasting longer. And that was YouTube, right? In 2020, when the pandemic hit, I had been making content for many years, but I started posting every single day that April. Finally started getting a lot of views. I remember seeing the AdSense go from like $200 a day, $300 a day. It hit like $800 a day at some point, and I was just like, holy crap. And I showed them. And of course, they're like, they didn't really understand that much about how much money you can make online, but they were definitely impressed. And it just kept growing. So I think in 2020, we really grew the channel. I started, doing YouTube full time. 2021, did YouTube full time. I was on a trip to Hawaii with my parents, and during that trip, I was making about $2,000 per day in income. And I remember telling my mom and dad, like, guys, I just made $2,000 today. Yesterday, I made like $1,800, right? It seems pretty consistent. And yeah, I think that's when their worries finally started to fade a little bit because they saw that I was actually building something that was making an impact on people's lives. People were actually watching it. And of course, the numbers really showed it. I think a lot of immigrant parents are very focused on the numbers. They're focused on the data. And that's bad for aspiring entrepreneurs because you're not going to have those receipts. You're not going to have those numbers for the first few years. And they don't view those small wins as receipts, right? So that finally started growing. I started building the team. The YouTube channel was really growing. Started getting brand deals, making 3, 4, 5K per day. And yeah, I finally had a business that I was proud of, that my parents were proud of. And I'll say, like, my parents are my biggest supporters today. My mom watches almost every single video I post, which is insane because I post a lot of videos. And I do think that they're proud of me, right? Asian parents, you don't really communicate that much emotion, which is definitely one of the bad parts about the culture. But I can tell that they are proud of me. They share what I do with their friends. They, tell me like great job. They tell me that, what I'm doing is awesome, and they love hearing all the updates that I give them. And yeah, it's more of like a quiet pride because they don't necessarily tell me like, wow, Charlie, we are so proud of you. They've said it in the past, but it's very rare. But I understand it's a quiet pride. That's just part of the culture. They don't say it that much, but you can really feel it. And yeah, since then, it's done even better. And I think they are quite proud to be my parents, which is so weird to say. Yeah. Um, Now I'd say success is not just about the money. I think I proved that part of it already. That part of the equation was fulfilled. Now it's about more like lifestyle, um, doing things that are fulfilling. So, like working on my music, they're really excited about me learning how to DJ and producing music. And yeah, I try and take care of them however I can. They don't really need it since they also do quite well. Um, but I'm trying to instill more splurge values to them because they're still very frugal. They don't like to spend their money. They like to invest their money. They don't like to go to nice restaurants or go to really expensive hotels and do really expensive experiences. So right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tell them, hey guys, you guys worked so hard for your money. Like, please use it, right? Because I don't want any inheritance. I don't want to take their money. I want them to spend the money that they earn themselves because I know that I'm going to make my own money. My sister's going to make her own money. We both do well. Um, and yeah, that's essentially the story of how I was able to make my immigrant parents proud. The core things that did it for me were just persistence, like working at these side hustles and businesses while everyone else didn't see any success. I still worked at it. I had that grit. I tried different things. I wasn't afraid to fail. I took a lot of risks with my time and my money. And eventually it paid off. And I think that's going to be how a lot of your stories are told too. You need to get through those years where it's tough, and your immigrant parents, they're going to at some point be disappointed. I think it's getting a little bit better now with social media. They see more of this internet money, they see more entrepreneurship, but still, like, I know many of you watching this, you're supposed to be a doctor, or you're supposed to be a lawyer, or you're supposed to be a coder, engineer, whatever it is. Just know that you don't need to go that route. The sacrifice is that it's going to be a tough time for some time, but there's that light at the end of the tunnel, and you can absolutely make your parents proud. You can 100% do it. And my dad just texted me, so I actually need to finish this video right now. But yeah, do it your way. Don't be afraid to go the non-traditional route. Don't be afraid to start your own business. Surround yourself with people that you can learn from, get inspired by. Use social media, use YouTube to learn everything you need to succeed in business. And then just take a lot of action. Take fucking action. That's so important, you guys. Don't be afraid to fail. Just take the action. Ignore the hate, ignore the disappointments, and at some point, you'll make your immigrant parents proud. Hopefully that inspired you. Yeah, and I guess if you want to see more videos like this, give this channel a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.